Well, I'm in my local woods trying to find a woodland shot. It's cold this morning, a little bit of fog. Yesterday was much better conditions, couldn't get out yesterday though. Lovely thick frost and thick dense fog yesterday, so it's a little bit disappointing this morning. But just having a rummage around the local woodland, see what I can find. Not had too much success with this woodland. The trees are quite dense and they're fairly spindly. There's no real obvious characters in this forest, so just keep looking around, see what I can find. Okay, so I found this tree. It's got quite a bit of character, but it's quite messy. There's a lot of distraction around it this side. So I think from around here it can be quite tricky to get a decent photograph of it. The mist is just looking okay. Could do with slightly thicker fog, but it's not too bad for conditions. But we'll walk around it and see what we can get from the other side. Again, probably a few too many distractions, I would think, especially from this side, especially from over here. A lot of distractions coming in, a few bits in the foreground that are just in the way. It's a lovely shaped tree though, so let's try down here. So we can find something down here. Viewpoint to shoot from without as many distractions. Yeah, that was looking quite nice. Still a bit of a problem with these this tree over here with the branches coming in. So I haven't quite got the separation that I'd like, but maybe we can zoom in and find some kind of composition. Okay, so I think I've settled on this location. Gives the best angle of view to the tree. So just try and find a nice composition for it now. So I'm just going to go to aperture priority mode and just f8 to start with. A fairly high ISO, autofocus and stab on. Just try and find a nice photograph. Just to see what we can find. See what that looks like. Okay, so I'm using my 24-105 lens at the moment. And I think that probably is the best lens for the job. Don't want to go too wide, I've got too many distractions on either side. I don't think I want to zoom in too far either. So at the moment, I reckon somewhere around the 50mm mark is probably good for here. Look a little bit lower down. The good thing is with the fog, it's giving separation from all the trees in the background. Or certainly those trees that are a little bit more distant. So that's quite good. It's a good thing with fog in the forest. The only thing is the foreground, I've got a bit of a muddy path coming up here. So it's sort of a lead-in line. It's slightly going off to one side, so it's not perfect. But it's quite muddy. And the trees, the leaves are, they're still nice and brown. But as you get closer, it seems to get a little bit more muddy. So I probably won't include too much foreground, I would think. And then at the top of the frame, from this tree here, I've got an inconvenient branch coming across. So I need to try and crop that out somehow. Do I get slightly closer or zoom in maybe? And it's too complex to remove in Photoshop afterwards. So maybe come this way slightly. Okay, about there. I'm happy with that, I think. I quite like that. Right, let's have another closer look. So I think we're going to try that one. Okay, so I'm just restricting the upper side of my frame by this tree that's going across, this branch, but that stops me capturing too much sky. And then the fog is giving a depth, a separation for depth as you go further back. So I think we'll try that one. Time for the tripod, I think. So I think a slightly lower composition would be better, so I can get slightly more of the tree in. Without having this branch in the composition. Except I want to shoot vertical. Okay, so let's switch off my autofocus and the image stabilization. Get my tripod. It's in the right place. Okay, so I was about 50mm. And let's take a look at this. Okay, so I must have zoomed in a little bit more than 50. So maybe around the 65 area. Okay, I'm happy with that. So I'm just going to play back my previous image just to compare my composition. Okay, I think I'm happy with that. Good. So, as for shooting, we're going to go full frame, 2-second timer, manual focus. ISO 100. And let's try f11 to start with. I don't need too much of a depth of field. In fact, I'll probably go f8. And go back to manual exposure, shooting mode. F8 ISO 100, and it says 1/8 of a second. So should we try that? So we're shooting out this way at this tree here. The problems I've got are this branch here coming across. So I'm restricted with my field of view to about there. But that's not too bad because I don't want too much sky up at the top. So what I've settled on is this composition here. It does look red, but that's because I've got focus peaking switched on. So let's take a shot. So it's 1/8 of a second at f8 ISO 100, 2-second timer. So I've taken another shot with a 1/15 of a second, still at f8, and that's just to reduce the blown out highlights at the top of the frame. I'm always shooting raw, so we can adjust the shadows and the highlights and the exposure back in Lightroom. But yeah, I'm quite happy with that. Another one for luck, as always. I find this is one of the problems I have in this forest. It seems quite dense with lots of spindly trees. I don't know what the trees are, I'm no expert, but when you take a look through here, it's a mess. Photographically, it's a mess. And I know that's a challenge with forest and woodland photography, to try and find some sense in, some order in the chaos. But I find this forest very difficult because it's just so busy. But I do believe there's something to be photographed in here. It's just a question of finding it. But the fog definitely helped to hide some of the distractions. It's just today the fog isn't very thick. It's helpful to disguise the sky a little bit. But having said that, the clouds are breaking now, and the daylight's coming through. Clouds are breaking up there. So I think the time will be limited for shooting now. I think that's it for today. The fog is clearing, the skies are breaking. Might get a sunny day today. So I've got one shot in the bag. I think I might be happy with that. I'll get it back to the computer, do some editing in Lightroom, and see what it looks like.